Hey, it's Rich, the Louisiana Hobby Guy. Have you recently gotten a Lightburn camera, or you're thinking about getting a Lightburn camera, and you want to know how to really dial it in? Well, stay right there because we're going to do that right now. Alright, so I've set up, I don't know, 5 or 6 Lightburn cameras on my own for different lasers, and I've never quite gotten them to spot on accuracy where I can do a really small engraving in an exact spot and know that it's going to be in that exact spot on the workpiece. But today I think I have it figured out. So today I decided to put a camera into the new Monport 80 watt. And when I did it, I did something just slightly different than I have in the past. And I'm going to show that to you today. The key difference that I found, there were 2 key differences. So number 1 was I didn't use just a small dark piece of cardboard. I filled the entire 24-inch by 36-inch laser bed with a white poster board. Now, I think this is key because that white background took out any anomalies that were in the background. And I can tell you that setting up the camera, seeing the honeycomb bed is going to throw off your camera alignment. So, or actually your lens alignment, I think it is. The one where you put the sheet of paper with the black dots on it. We're not going to do that part today. We're going to get into the actual alignment of the camera and not the lens. So what I did was, first I covered the bed completely in white. And the second thing that I did was I doubled the size of the area to capture. So typically you're going to be capturing an 8.5 by 11 area and running your numbers 1, 2, 3, and 4. You burn on that, and it even suggests using a sheet of white paper. Well, in there you can change the size from 8.5 by 11, and I did. I changed it to 17 by 22, so 200%. And then I got a piece of cardboard, dropped it on there, and I ran the burn and burned the numbers 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now with this much larger area, much wider area, now used to be I could get pretty accurate, on that 8.5 by 11 area. Now my accuracy is expanded out across the entire bed, and just by doubling the size of that image. And I'm going to show you, I'm going to prove it to you today by showing it to you, doing some actual live burns so you can see it for yourself. So let's jump over into Lightburn and I'll show you what I'm talking about. Alright, so now, sorry about all the noise today. It's hot here in Louisiana, so I got the air conditioning on, I've got the laser on, I've got the chiller on, I've got the exhaust on. So there's going to be lots of background noise today. So now I've started off by coming over here to Laser Tools and calibrating the camera lens. That was the first thing that I did, was the lens calibration. Now that's the one where I was saying is key. You're going to print out that 8.5 by 11 black dots during this process, and it's key to use a white background. So make sure your entire bed is covered in white, because I've never had the calibration process for the lens go this smoothly before, where every single number was far below the minimum threshold for Lightburn to recognize it. I mean, it was done in 20-30 seconds, well, not really, maybe 2 minutes, because every time I hit next and capture, it would say perfect, next. Perfect. Next. Every single one. I blew right through that. That's never happened before. So I'm pretty sure that white background is the key, because I'm using the same camera as I did on my last laser, the 50 watt. So I just installed that one into the 80 watt. So I know it's not the camera. And another thing, I don't like the fisheye, so I didn't get the fisheye lens for my camera. You'll see in a minute. So the second thing that you do is you calibrate the alignment, where you burn the numbers 1, 2, 3, and 4 in the crosshairs, and then you click on the spot in the crosshairs. So that's done too, and you can see by the camera over here that I've already done that 1, 2, 3, 4, and I've done some other testing too, which I'm going to repeat to show you. And this is where I was so impressed, and what made me decide to make this video is the accuracy. So let's update the overlay. Oh, there we go. And you'll see that on the bed, this is what I printed 1, 2, 3, and 4 at 200% size. So I never even saw that option before. And this piece of cardboard is 24 by 17. So you can see that's spaced pretty far apart. And I think that's probably key here as well, making a larger image, expanding it out across the workbed. So let me show you what I did. I'm going to do it for you here live, okay? So we're going to take, and you see this number 5? That's what I did. I went and I clicked on the screen and I typed the number 5. And then we'll just make it a little bigger like that so we can see it. And I'm going to make this one really big because it can be hard to see. Let's put it on the black layer. And let's go ahead and put this into fill mode like that. And let's see, I think we're going to go, I think we'll go 350 millimeters a second. And we'll put the max power at, say 25, and the minimum power at 8. So, there we go. That's all set to go. Now, what I'm going to do is bring this camera out, because this is just an overlay that you see here. And I'll bring this make it a little bit bigger like that. I'm going to come to the laser, and I'm going to hit frame. And you can see it's, relatively in the spot that I picked, okay? So let me turn on the laser. And let's go ahead and hit start. And I'm going to do this whole thing in live time for you, so that you can actually see this. Now, when this gets finished, we're going to update the overlay again, and you're going to understand what I'm talking about here. Maybe I shouldn't have made it so big. Oh, and for those of you that are interested, I did finish the compass, and I don't know if you can see it here, but it came out just beautiful. If you haven't seen the compass video, you should take a look at it. It's awesome. This is four layers thick. It's got pretty heavy. And this is Baltic birch plywood, so it came out awesome. I used a triple coat for the finish. I decided to put a high shine, high gloss finish on it, so I used the triple coat. And I probably should have made that number smaller, because this will take a little while. I'll tell you what, I'm just going to stay in lifetime, speed this up, and then come back down to real time. Alright, so we're back in real time, and I'm going to move this camera out of the way, and what I'm going to do now is update the overlay to get the latest picture of it. And there we go. So now if I zoom in, Look at that. That number is exactly where I put it. Watch what happens when I pull it off. There's the burn. This is the graphic. There's the burn. Undo that, and you see that it is in the exact spot that I chose. And that's pretty incredible because that's right down to accuracy of about 0.5 millimeter. So let's take it another step further, and I am going to do something different. Let me go put a piece of material on there and show you a different way. Okay, now we've got our material on there. Let's update the overlay again, and you can see it now. And let's zoom way in here. And there's our piece of wood. Now, let's take and draw a rectangle over that piece of wood. Let's put that into line mode, like that. Grab it and try and get it in the right spot. Something like that. Let's offset it so that we could see it a little bit better. Say okay. Put it into fill. Actually, let's put it into offset fill so it does this quickly. And it looks a little bit crooked, the wood. So you see I don't have the wood placed perfectly. So let's grab the little handle here and see if we can make it as straight as possible. Oh, I'm only, I gotta grab both of these. Let's just group them. There we go. All right, let's see how straight we can make this. I think that's pretty straight right there. Let's bring it in just a tad, and it looks a little higher on the top than the bottom. So let's do it this way instead. Let's do that. Let's do that. And it needs to tilt just a little bit there. I think that's good like that. So what do you think? That looks pretty darn close if you ask me. All right, let's go offset fill, 350. Yeah, all of that looks okay. So we're just gonna come to the laser tab and we're gonna hit start. And if we come back, you'll see it running the job. This one should be a lot quicker because we're using the offset fill. That's halfway point. When it reverses direction, you're in halfway point. And I mean, this is really great, you know, if you're a distance from your laser. So now we'll hit update overlay, and you can see that it is slightly off. Not by much. Let me grab this guy, pull it out of the way. So you see I was slightly off, but we can adjust for that. So now the thing to do would be to adjust to this burn right here. And this, I guess we're talking about, how big was the offset? 1.25 millimeters was the offset. So looks like we have to shift. So we're going to do an X shift by, I don't know. Oops, wrong way, -2. I'm going to do an X shift by -2. And I think that's probably as close to perfect as you can get. Let's see, let's pull it off, put it back on. Yeah, I think that's it. And I think that's all we have to do. So we're going to test this one more time now in a different spot on the bed here. So I'm going to go move the workpiece again. And we're going to try this one more time. So let's update our overlay. And you can see that I've moved over there. So let's grab our square, put it over the wood, and we do need to tilt it again just a little bit. And I don't think I'll ever get this tilt quite right. But let's try this again. So let's come to the laser and hit start. And this is the dialing in. So it was just so close, you know, on that first setup. I've never seen it that close before, where you're within a millimeter or so of what it should be. And we're going to find out in a second just how far off we are. All right, so let me just move that out of the way a little bit, and we will update the overlay. And look at that. Now, what have we got now? One adjustment is all we made, and that is perfectly aligned. Perfectly aligned. You see that? There's the burn. This is the graphic. Now, just for fun, let's go ahead and throw something on there. How about SpongeBob? We'll throw SpongeBob on there and see how well this comes out. So let's get him aligned. Bring him up here, and we'll align his noggin to the top like that, so it's even across. And then take and put him right about there. And let's see how this comes out. So I'm going to run back to setting, back to cuts and layers again. Yeah, I think everything's okay just the way it is. We'll just come to the laser and hit start. And there we go. And you heard my chiller just kick in. The chiller doesn't run very often, but when it does, it runs for a long time, it seems. But I like the chillers so much better than the bucket of water. You know, the bucket of water is okay, but you're going to contaminate the water every time you put a frozen item in there. So it's going to get contaminated by your hands, it's going to get contaminated by your freezer and everything else. So I don't particularly want to do that. I did do that test with the ice maker, and that worked fine. And I ran it that way for what, a month, and it worked fine every time. But I like this closed system much better. I'm worried about contaminants in the water. Another thing I want you to notice too is that I always run at slow speeds and low powers. I cut 5mm wood at 9 milliamps, excuse me, 9 milliamps. So I try and keep my laser with the lowest amount of milliamps possible. This particular burn right here is running at about 1 milliamp. All right, there we go. So let's update our overlay. And there we have it. Let's select SpongeBob, pull him off, hit undo. Looks pretty perfect to me. and this is what I'm talking about. So now, here's I'm going to show you exactly what I was talking about. Let's delete SpongeBob, and let's add something to it really quickly. I want to see if I could find something small and easy. Let me see. How about a bird? I thought I had a little bird in here. There it is, Tweety Bird. So let's take Tweety, and now you've decided that, you know, you want something along with SpongeBob there. So you get Tweety Bird. Let's go to the laser tab and hit start. All right, and Tweety is done. So let's select Tweety. Let's update the overlay. Move him off. And you can see he's right there. Now it does look like it's a little bit off with the camera, and it may be, this is so small that it may be a 0.5 millimeter or so off. But I'm going to go and pick up that wood now and show it to you on camera. All right, so with the noise level manageable, it gets pretty noisy in here with everything on, you know. Let's recap everything. Let me show you the final burn here. And I did notice that when I was rewatching the video doing the editing, that I got the square off a little bit. That's why it's not lined up perfectly. You know, if I were to do this again and zoom way in and make sure that I was tilting it just right, this would have came out perfect. But you can see what I mean about the size of the Tweety bird. Getting it that close, it was within like about a 0.5 millimeter or so. So yeah, I mean, you know, this is why I love the Lightburn camera right here, is because I can go back and add things to projects after I've taken them off the workbed. So if I decide, well, it needed a little more accent here or there or whatever, this is the reason why I so much love using the camera when I'm using the laser. And let's recap though. So the probably the most important thing is the installation. You want to make sure that that camera is installed permanently. So what I did was I got it into a spot where I thought was right. I looked at the picture on the screen. I said, that's about the area that I want to capture, which is the entire bed. And once I had it lined up and square, I got my hot glue gun out. And I'm not depending on the double-sided tape now, okay? I used the double-sided tape to get it in place. But then I got my hot glue gun out and I hot glued all of the corners in place. Now I know that camera will never move again unless I pull it off. And I think that's the biggest mistake that most people make, is they use a double-sided tape. And that's, you know, I mean, it's good, but it's not going to stay in the exact same spot. And by it moving just a fraction of an inch from you opening and closing the door, well, that's going to throw off the whole alignment on your laser bed. So it can't even move that fraction of an inch during the installation. So make sure when you install it, go ahead and install it with the double-sided tape, but then hot glue the corners so that you know that it's never going to move again. So I think that's a key point right there. The second thing is the lens calibration. So now these are the tricks. So that lens calibration, doing that lens calibration on the white background, I think was the key to this process. And I just so happen to have a piece of white poster board. You could lay out white sheets of paper, whatever it is. But like I said earlier, I never ever, 5 or 6 times that I've set up a camera and done the lens calibration, never captured it on the first try. You know, never before. Proper lighting, white background, that's all you need. So then on the calibration of the alignment, you want to double the size. So instead of aligning it on that 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper and making your marks 1, 2, 3, 4, don't do that. When you get to that stage where you're about to make your burn, double it to 200%. It's something that I never even saw before, never paid attention to. I doubled that up to 200%, made the size of it 17 by 22, and now you've got a complete calibration all the way around your bed. So, and if you want to make it bigger than that, you can make it. I probably should have made it bigger on my laser, and maybe I will. Maybe I'll go back and do it bigger so that I have further points further apart to do the calibration. The further apart the points are, I think the better is the calibration. So now dead center of my work area. It was spot on, not even a fraction off, and for probably about 6 or 7 inches around, and you saw that with zero adjustment. And then when you move out to the side some, maybe you have to make one adjustment. I made one 2 millimeter adjustment on the outside. Now, since I've done this, I wasn't going to keep you in the video forever, but I've also done 5 or 6 more burns around the outside, and every one of them was perfect, perfectly aligned. I opened and closed the lid 4 or 5 or 6 times. Every time, actually, I opened and closed the lid. Every time I put a new piece of material on. And I went through a bunch of little, circles, and I was able to get that circle down perfect, absolutely perfectly. So I think the key is, like I said, the white background during your lens calibration and doubling the size during your alignment calibration. And if you get those 2 things down, you're going to be able to use this camera and make life so easy with your laser, you're not going to believe it. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video as much as I enjoyed bringing it to you, and I hope you learned something from it. I know I learned from the process by mistake by using that white backer board. I wanted to get it more light inside, and man, I'll tell you, that was a great mistake. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you in the next one.